When I think of a Subaru vehicle, a car that has tons of cladding, off-road capability, and standard all-wheel drive quickly comes to mind, which is why the Subaru BRZ was kind of an oddball when the company first introduced it to the States back in 2012, alongside its twin, the Scion FRS. Today, the Subaru BRZ is now in its second generation, and for 2024, the company is introducing the highest performing model yet. This right here is a 2024 BRZ TS. What the TS stands for is tuned by STI. Essentially, what this car gives you is upgraded suspension, upgraded brakes, a slightly unique look on the outside and inside, and essentially the most capability that you're going to get from a BRZ. Now, we already had a chance to drive this car actually out in Sicily at the end of December. However, this week, as you can see, Subaru has loaned us this TS model painted in magnetite gray. And the big question I want to answer, for those of you who have always dreamed of owning a BRZ STI, is the BRZ TS the closest thing that you're going to get? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the subtle styling changes that Subaru has made to the TS model, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now, some of you are going to be disappointed to learn that the TS model doesn't actually have any additional horsepower, which means this car still comes standard with the company's 2.4-liter Boxer Flat 4. And you guys should be pretty familiar with this engine. It is essentially a variation of the motor that's in the WRX minus the turbocharger, of course. It's a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter Boxer Flat 4 with direct and port injection. It actually has Toyota's D4S technology. That's where the Toyota partnership came into play. The numbers here are still the same, 228 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. This model here only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission with a limited slip differential. You can get an automatic, but not on the TS version. This only comes with the 6-speed stick. Fuel economy is rated at 20 in the city, 27 on the highway. You're going to be looking at just under 300 miles of range on a full tank. Premium is going to be recommended for maximum performance. Now, Subaru doesn't claim a 0 to 60 time. It should be pretty similar to the last one we tested, which was around 6 seconds. It has a top speed of around 140 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 2,800 pounds. So still one of the lightest new vehicles on sale today. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the subtle styling changes. Remember, this is all part of the second generation BRZ that was introduced back in late 2021. And this particular example that I'm showing you is painted in magnetite gray. It's a very nice metallic gray exterior color that has a lot of fleck in it. It looks good along the body lines of the new BRZ. You can see the headlights. These are the standard steering responsive full LED headlights. You can see it's an LED low and high beam, LED daytime running light and turn signal. There's this kind of red BRZ accented badge in the headlight, which definitely is a nice little touch. And then down here on the front fascia, you can see there's a BRZ TS badge here, along with a slightly more aggressive front end. I actually think I still prefer the look of the front fascia on this car's twin, the Toyota GR86. You can see there are some functional openings there, functional openings there. I just think that Toyota did a better job with the front end, which is not the case on the previous generation model. But let me know in the comment section below if you guys like the look of the BRZ or the Toyota GR86. Now, moving around the side profile, this is a small vehicle, very, very small, especially by new car standards, at 168 inches long overall with a 101.4-inch long wheelbase. This car has roughly 5.1 inches of ground clearance. The body's not any wider than the standard BRZ, but you do get these unique finished wheels. These are an 18-inch gunmetal gray finished wheel, so it's a darker finished wheel versus the 18-inch wheel that you get on the limited trim. And you also have these upgraded brakes, which I believe are around 12.5 inches. They're about an inch larger versus the standard brakes. You also get these 4-piston copper-painted Brembo calipers. You get 2 pistons in the rear, and you have these Michelin Pilot Sport 4 summer tires on a 215 wide tire. So not the widest tire, but that's kind of the point of the BRZ. It's very easy to slide this vehicle around. It's a 215 by 40. And you also have these upgraded Hitachi dampers that are tuned by STI. So again, you're gonna get that improved handling, improved braking performance. There are some, looks like functional openings there that allows the turbulence in the wheel wells to kind of be expelled. The TS model also gets this crystal black silica painted side mirror. These are heated as well. They don't have an integrated turn signal, as you can see, but there's also a crystal black painted silica shark fin antenna. No sunroof on this vehicle. As you can see, a lot of the trim is blacked out, which definitely looks nice. And then looking at the rear of this car, you can see the design You probably couldn't even tell that this is a TS model because one thing I wish Subaru would have done is given this car a more pronounced duckbill spoiler. You can get that on the GR86, but not on the BRZ. The old TS model did offer a big wing on the back, but Subaru says they also offered the previous gen without the wing, which they say the wing was carbon fiber. It created a lot of downforce. It was expensive, so they decided to go without the wing, but I suspect people in the aftermarket will fix that anyways. There's a big TS badge here to let you know that you do have a special BRZ. The taillights, you can see full LEDs with LED turn signals, LED reverse lights, which are down here. The dual exhaust also is the same. There's not any kind of factory active or sport exhaust on this model. And it makes a pretty decent sound from the factory tune. And then if you want to open up the trunk, compared to a Miata, this car's main rival, this vehicle offers 6.3 cubic feet of space. Now that is a fairly usable amount. You can see it's a little bit of a shallow trunk. The rear seats, they do fold down. It looks like in one piece, which is nice. Underneath the floor here, Subaru, it looks like they do give you actually no, they don't, I'm sorry. They don't give you no temporary spare, but there is space for one. Instead, you just kind of have like a fix-a-flat kit, but there is like a jack. So I imagine some owners will put a spare in this car, but overall you can see the trunk is certainly usable. And if you need more space, you can also fold down the seats and use the back seat area to carry stuff. So on the outside, the TS model has very subtle changes to give it a unique look, but what about the interior? Let me first show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the intelligent access key that Subaru offers on most of their vehicles. It's standard, obviously, on this trim. You have your usual buttons for lock, unlock. You can also pop open the trunk and use the panic function. There's no remote start from the fob, although I don't have access to the smartphone app to see if you could access the vehicle through there. Obviously, this is the manual, so you can't actually remote start the car if you go for the manual transmission. But opening up the door, you can see, I hope you guys like a black interior because it's your only option if you guys want a TS version. Basically, you get the black with the leather and the ultra suede. The difference being is the red has been replaced by blue accents, blue contrasting stitching, blue inner perforations. These seats are 2-level heated. You have a manual 6-way adjustable seat, which is nice. But overall, along with the blue stitching, this interior is practically identical to other versions of the BRZ. You can see the door panel has this really nice ultra suede up at the top. It's nice and padded. This is probably going to look terrible after a few years, but it looks nice while it's new. Hard-touch plastic here, chrome accent and door handles, padded over here, of course, where you'd rest your elbows. There's some nice storage in the door pockets. Actually, this right here can fit a relatively decent size water or flask, whatever, or water bottle holder. And then the window controls, they're one-touch up-down for both front windows. Mirrors are not power folding, as you can see, but a lot of the controls have that high-quality tactile feel, which is nice. As I get inside, you can see the step-in is low. It's only has 5 inches of ground clearance, so the younger me would have found this to be easier. But as I get in and shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk, and then the rest of this interior you can see is pretty much carryover stuff, so I'm not going to go too into detail with this. Now I am noticing a couple of changes. There's a red accented STI badge start-stop button, and there's also a little bit of red accents in the instrument panel. Turn the vehicle on, you can see it says STI in the instrument panel, even though this is technically not an STI, but there is a 7-inch fully digital instrument cluster, which is nice, although I will say that the graphics and resolution isn't what I would say is super avant-garde. It definitely looks a little bit rudimentary, but it's nice that it's fully digital. The upper dash here you can see has a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have an 8-inch touchscreen here with Subaru Starlink. It doesn't have wireless connectivity for CarPlay or Android Auto. You have to connect it via a wired connection. There are some suede Alcantara materials here over the instrument panel hood. The steering wheel offers a manual tilt telescoping adjustment, which is nice. No paddles, obviously, being this is the automatic. You have controls here to control the stereo, to control the way that system looks, where you can kind of put different performance figures on there, or you can also change it out to put your music or trip computer information. So that all looks pretty modern and very nice and upscale, and I really like that a lot. The horn, it doesn't sound as puny as I thought given the size of this car. But again, it's also a little bit nondescript. Over here you can see it's got some very cheap hard touch plastic. You do have some nice buttons here for your volume and for your tuning. There's the way the CarPlay looks. You can see it takes up obviously the screen. It's a good size given the size of this dash. I just kind of wish that Subaru would have offered wireless functionality. At least I'll make it an option for 2024, considering they have it now on a lot of their newer systems. You can see there's dual zone climate control, which is nice. That's included on the limited trims and up. I like the hard buttons here, which have a nice high quality tactile feel. Put the car into reverse, you can see there's your backup camera. It's pretty basic, but it does have trajectory and distance markers. No parking sensors, obviously. It's a pretty small car. The throws for the manual, they're the typical Subaru notchiness, but they do have a relatively short throw. The clutch is on the medium side, and it engages kind of at the end of the travel. You can easily stall this car if you're not used to it. There is kind of like a track mode here. If I push and hold that, you can see it changes the way that looks, and it also puts the stability control in a less intrusive setting. You have your heated seat control, which is an actual button from 2002. You can also turn off the stability control entirely there. I like how Subaru still does a pull handbrake, and then you can see here, there's a padded center console area here for the armrest, and then open that up, you can see there's the cup holders and your 2 USB charging ports. The seats are comfortable and supportive. I also like the blue trim. This seat over here is a 4-way. You can see there's a glove box, which is a bin style. It's stamped but not lined with felt. There's no auto-dimming rearview mirror, as you can see. You do have some map lighting here that's non-LED. These are the cameras for the eyesight system. So basically the fact that this has adaptive cruise control is new for 2024, and it actually works pretty well. We'll talk about that in the driving scene. The back seat, as you can see, only carries 2 people back here. It offers 29 inches of legroom. I'm not going to get back there, but I will say the headroom is pretty tight. This is reserved for small children, your in-laws, people you don't like, or just packages. But overall, as you can see, the interior is pretty similar to the regular BRZ, just some blue accent stitching, some STI badging. There's decent tech in this car, but I was hoping that Subaru would have given us wireless Apple CarPlay, so I'll be curious to see what the company does whenever they give this car an actual refresh sometime in either 2025 or 2026. So the last time I was driving the BRZ TS, I was in Italy. I was in Sicily, of all places, and the weather conditions weren't wonderful. It was kind of cold and rainy and wet, and I was on some roads that I obviously wasn't familiar with. So now that I'm back in my home area in this car, I can finally, put it through its paces and see what the handling upgrades have done to this car. Because obviously we have no more additional power. This car still comes with a 2.4 liter Boxer flat 4 with direct injection, direct and port injection. Still makes 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. It only comes with a manual transmission, with the new addition, of course, that Subaru now offers their eyesight driver assist tech. So with the manual. So let's go ahead and see what we can do 0 to 60 wise. Now, I think in the past that in this car, at least in the non-TS, I got in the low 6-second range. This car doesn't come with launch control, but you kind of have to you have to dump the clutch at the right time to kind of get the correct launch. So let's go ahead and see what we can get here on this, our usual stretch of road. I have the car in its track mode right now, which turns the stability control into a less intrusive setting. We'll see about just doing a light clutch dump. That was bad. But you know what? I actually just got 5.89 seconds there, and you guys felt it. There was a lot of wheel hop there. I wasn't expecting it to do 5.89 there, though, so that's surprising. This car can hit 60 in second gear, but you're really kind of at the very top end of 60 to get it into, or the top end of second gear to get it to 60 miles an hour. So really a shift into third is probably the better option. Again, you have to get the launch right, because I am driving this car on Michelin Pilot Sport 4 summer tires. It's around 50 degrees outside, 48 degrees, so it's not the most ideal. And I suspect this car would hook up a lot better if it didn't have summers on it. Instead, it had like all seasons or like a grippier tire, because the cold weather just doesn't affect, or summer tires don't like cold weather, basically. But let's try it here. We'll try it one more time. Less aggressive clutch dump, though. All right, try that one more time. 6.25 there, so this is with it more going slightly uphill. But you know what? The 5.89, the 5.9 that I got earlier is not a bad time. Remember, if you guys used to drive the previous generation, that car was more along the lines of a 6.5 second car on a good day. So this 2.4 clearly has more power. I mean, it's got a lot more low-end torque. It doesn't have that silly little torque dip that the old 2-liter had, which was just annoying. You could actually feel that in your day-to-day driving. It just wasn't a pleasant experience. And hello, Kia. Nice turn signal. Thank you. This thing likes to let the back end get a little slidey, but listen to the sound of this engine. It's creating kind of a fake noise through the speaker, and I kind of like the sound, although I would just prefer it to be the traditional Boxer wail. I hear a little bit of that fake induction noise that's playing through the speaker. It's a little loud. I mean, this car is very visceral. The handling upgrades that Subaru has made have definitely made the ride a little bit stiffer versus the last BRZ that I drove. It's still not like unbearable, But maybe it's just me because I'm turning into an old man where I'm like, these cars where they're so low and they're just kind of rough riding are just getting a little bit irritating to daily drive. But man, the steering in this car, incredibly sharp. The suspension stays nice and flat. There's just so much control, so much precision with this car. It's just a scalpel. It's so fun to drive. And I think that's the beauty about the BRZ and the 86. It's just like... And you can easily get this thing sideways. Oh, that's fantastic. It just loves to rev. I mean, it's got a 7,400 RPM Redline. You can even turn on like a shift light with a buzzer warning to kind of help you from from not shifting this vehicle properly. But man, this thing is just so much fun to drive. And sure, it's not the fastest accelerating car. You can definitely find faster cars in other, other classes of vehicles, even like non-sports cars like this. Let's try it here one more time. See if we can get a consistent launch. .1 there, so we'll take the first time as the fastest, obviously, but this is also on a level road, so still not bad. You're looking at basically a sub 6 to around a 6 second time, and I think that's fast enough for most people. I mean, some of you are still like annoyed about the fact that Subaru doesn't offer like a turbo engine on this vehicle or anything like that, but Subaru claims it would ruin the driving experience. This thing is just so easy to get the back to step out, and that's the whole point of this car. The back end feels like it's on marbles. The tires, they just love to slide. The back end just will step out. It's a nice little dance. You can easily steer with the throttle. You can counter steer and get this thing sideways all day long, and you don't even have to be going that fast to get this car to go sideways. I think that's the cool thing about the BRZ and the GR86. Even the Miata doesn't allow you to get this sideways so quickly and so easily and so controllably. And I think that's why so many people just love this car. But let's get it out of track mode here, because when you go back into just the regular mode, the stability control comes on to full alertness, basically. Earlier there, you could feel the car step out, and then it would kind of kick in a little bit, but less intrusively. So now the tachometer changes to that look over there, which I actually think I prefer this look a little bit better. This car doesn't have any kind of adaptive dampers. It just has those Hitachi dampers, which are tuned by STI. And when you drive this car normally, I can put it into its higher gears here. I'll go into 5th. And it does settle down pretty well. I mean, this is where the seats, I think they're pretty comfortable. I like the ultra suede and the aggressive bolstering. It really holds you in place nicely. I drove this car about an hour back home from the airport, and I thought it was perfectly fine. There is a lot of road noise and engine noise creeping into this car. You hear a good bit of that in addition to some tire noise. So it's not the quietest car, but again, this is still much more refined versus a Miata. If you guys are cross-shopping this with a Miata, this is definitely the more practical and more refined option. Visibility is also very good out of the front, the side, out of the rear. This car now has Subaru's EyeSight driver assistance tech. However, one question that we asked Subaru during the media launch is what happens when you have the adaptive cruise on and it needs to bring you down to a full stop and you forget to take it out of gear? Well, the simple answer is the car will stall. Subaru says that they were trying to figure out what's the best way to handle that, and they're just like, you know what? It's just going to stall, because that's probably better versus the car crashing into the vehicle in front of you. So we'll just let it stall. Seems like an easy solution. I tried out the EyeSight. It works fairly well. It works just like every other Subaru, minus the fact that if you do change gears when it's on, it lets you put the clutch in, change the gear, and it won't cancel out the EyeSight system. So that was something that most manufacturers do when you add adaptive cruise control with a manual transmission. That's all very nice. In terms of fuel efficiency, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 24 mpg in mixed driving. On the highway, this thing will do 31 miles to the gallon. You're looking at just under 300 miles of range on a full tank. Premium is the recommended fuel if you're going to go with this car, though, because of the fact that it is a high revving engine with high compression ratio and stuff like that. But overall, this is definitely not a BRZ STI, but the handling improvements, the braking performance, the look of this car, although I still wish that Subaru gave this thing a wing on the back. It really could use a wing in the back. Have obviously improved the capability. I mean, this is definitely the most track-focused and track-capable BRZ that you're going to buy right from the factory floor. It has these upgrades that most owners would probably just do on their own anyways. One thing I do wish Subaru would add is an active rev match function. They don't have that internally on their own, but Toyota does. They could have borrowed their active rev matching, but I'm decent at heel towing on my own, but still, it would be nice to have that feature, to have it do it for you automatically. But overall, I like this car. I still love this car. I love the fact that sales have been going up, although I still think that I really want to drive the GR86 with the performance package, which is the Toyota equivalent of this car, because there's still something about the GR86 for me that I personally like better in terms of the design. But overall, the TS model, for not much more money, like $2,600 more, I think it's actually a screaming deal. So if you're considering this car, you may as well consider also making the leap for the TS version. So after spending a full week with the highest performing version of the BRZ known as the TS, I have to say, after spending a week with this vehicle and driving it at first in Sicily back in December, I'm pretty impressed with this car. I mean, clearly, if you guys are interested in what the BRZ has to offer, because remember, this is one of the few lightweight rear-wheel drive sports cars that you can buy that has a high revving engine that offers a manual transmission with rear-wheel drive. The TS model basically just kind of takes things to the next level. Is this car a BRZ STI, however? Probably not, because it doesn't have the extra power that you get under the hood. It would be cool if Subaru did offer something with a turbo and maybe even all-wheel drive, but that would take away from the fun aspect of this car. It would add cost, it would add complexity, and that's the reasons why Subaru has never felt to put a turbo engine or all-wheel drive on this car. And after spending some time with this model here, I really like the improvements that Subaru has made to the handling department, to the braking department, to the looks of this car. I still think I prefer the look of the GR86 more, but let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. I definitely like the upgraded brakes on this car and the different finish that you get on the wheels. I just really wish that Subaru would have given this car a wing on the back. It would have just kind of added to that whole STI almost look-alike. But overall, the interior, I was expecting and hoping Subaru would add wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but their 8-inch touchscreen is perfectly fine. It suits the dashboard and the small size of this vehicle well. The back seat obviously is laughable in terms of actually carrying people back there, but you can easily fold it down and put stuff back there. The front seats are relatively comfortable. Again, not much in terms of luxury stuff in this car. Everything is to a price point, but I think for those of you who plan to just use this as a daily driver, as your only vehicle because you're on a budget and you want something fun, this and the Toyota version are still the best out there, along with the Miata. But the Miata, as you guys know, isn't quite as practical because it only seats 2. It's a convertible and it's even smaller on the inside. Now, in terms of performance, 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds is perfectly acceptable. It's not as slow, again, as the previous generation, but you're still going to get smoked by a lot of other types of vehicles out there with their electric powertrains or their turbocharged powertrains. But again, that's not the point of a BRZ. The point is to have fun behind the wheel and do so going sideways. But if you guys are interested to purchase this vehicle, the TS model is already on sale, and Subaru actually didn't increase the price as much as I thought. You can get into a base BRZ for just over $30,000. The limited is just over $32,000. You're basically spending another $2,700 to get the TS version. So with destination charge, there's no charge for this color. My tester here is a little over $36,000. 36 grand is pretty darn close to the price of the car back in 2018 when Subaru offered the one without the wing. So it's kind of crazy to think that Subaru is able to offer this and not really charge that much of a premium. Now, obviously, you're still looking at around a $36,000 BRZ, but this is one of the best handling cars out there. It's one of the best cars out there in terms of just fun and performance to dollar ratio. And I think that it's really refreshing that Subaru and Toyota still offers a vehicle like this. And it's starting to also show in their sales because the company did sell a little over 4,100 units last year. Now it does the Toyota version does outsell this about 2 to 1. But again, you are getting a vehicle that is super unique. And for those of you who are big Subaru fans and you want to go sideways, the BRZ TS is obviously still worth a look. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Subaru BRZ TS. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.